You're listening to the Wealth and Wanderlust podcast, an international finance and personal development podcast for the modern day woman. I'm your host, Vanessa M.W., and I'm here to help you build a better life abroad or in America. You can find out more about my work in finance and travel on wanderonwards.co, or you can say hi on Instagram at wanderonwards. Not all classrooms have four walls, so open your mind to what's possible and let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Wealth and Wanderlust. You have your host here, Vanessa M.W., and then today I actually have a personal friend and colleague, Zahir. He's dialing in all the way from the United Kingdom. As you know, I'm based here in Germany. And this is the man that I bounce all of my crazy finance ideas on. We debate hard on Bitcoin. This is my counter, opposite, I would say, when it comes to financial planning. And still, we're both moving up together. So it's just another example about how if you have a finance plan, you can move up too, despite it being different from your peers, from what you've been taught at home. It does not matter. Just get a plan together. So welcome, Zahir, to Wealth and Wanderlust. Can you give yourself a little introduction and let people know where they can find you?
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm so excited to be on your show, and I think it's a great thing that you're doing. So I appreciate it. My name's Zahir. I'm from London. I was born in Saudi Arabia, so I came here when I was 6 months old. Not many people know about that. My background is my late father is Ethiopian, and my mom is from a small area called Somaliland, which is kind of autonomous region of Somalia. And right now I'm a software engineer. I'm working for Expedia. So I've been at Expedia Group for around 4 years. I have around 8 to 9 years experience working as a software engineer. I have my bachelor's in computer science. And yeah, I've been in the tech industry for just over a decade.
Wow, has it been that long? Like, you don't age at all. Look at that gorgeous skin you have.
It has been that long, believe me. I started my first internship in 2010, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into that. But what is your side financial interest? Because this is something that I don't normally talk about on my platforms.
So I would say I'm a aggressive investor. When I mean aggressive, I've been investing on average half of my salary. Um, and I've been fortunate to do that because not everyone has the opportunity to invest half of their salary. But I would say that I've been taking a lot of risks in my kind of mid to late 20s. And that has had its successes and failures as well. I'm not going to lie. There have been, some investments that I've been completely liquidated, so it's gone to zero. but there but, but there have been some investments that have given me 5x's, 10x's, right?
Mm.
So it's about getting the balance right, and also having that balance in your portfolio is super important to be able to invest in safe assets, but also be able to take that additional risk.
Okay, but now you're being coy. What is your preferred financial tool? We all know what it is. Now tell the rest of the world.
Okay, so in terms of my financial tools, I literally use Hargreaves. That's what I guess that's the first kind of tool that I found back in 2014, 2015. I'm also quite a heavy user of Coinbase, so I'm quite
Spit it
heavily
out.
involved.
Spit it out. Zahir is a big time Bitcoin bro. And anyone who follows me on any platform knows that I don't always have the best opinions of these people, only because I find that there's a lot of aggressive behavior when it comes to people who are more interested in new financial market tools versus the traditional mutual fund, the index funds, ETFs. So don't be coy, Zahir. Let the people know you're a Bitcoin boy.
Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, right? Yeah, like in fact, I first found out about Bitcoin back in 2012 when I was, you know, working at the time. I found out about blockchain, Bitcoin. I was always a bit skeptical about, okay, how could you store value in something that you cannot physically hold, right? Such as gold, silver, you can hold that, right? Diamonds, cash. Um, but like, I just thought the idea of Bitcoin was crazy until I think it was back in 2017 when there was that epic Bitcoin rally where Bitcoin hit 20K. And I think that really made me open my eyes and be more curious, actually. I remember before that Bitcoin hit $1,000 and I was like, this is crazy. How can one Bitcoin be worth $1,000? But then again, you should not look at the price of an asset. Rather, you should look at its market cap, right? The market
Mm-hmm.
cap can tell um a bigger picture, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until then that I did my research and I found out about, there's only a fixed amount of supply of Bitcoins that can ever be created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you already have that supply demand characteristics of an asset. You also have like the flexibility to go across different countries. For example, if I want to go to the US, I need to declare that I'm carrying like over, I think, $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
$20,000. Whereas I could go to US right now and have 20 Bitcoin in USB. Not saying that you should do that, but again, it's very easy to transfer, store a value. You have all of the transactions stored on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have that central government um, that owns, you know, that could do malicious stuff, that could, print print more cash, print more. Whereas with Bitcoin, you just have that finite amount of supply. You can never have more than 21 million Bitcoins, and I
And
think that that's super important.
how much of your portfolio is of Bitcoin right now?
Okay, good question. I would say probably around 35 to 40% of my portfolio is in Bitcoin.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's really exciting because this is uncharted territory. And so a lot of fortunes can be made here. Like you could really win big with new financial tools, or you could also go the opposite direction. And what led you to start reallocating your cash more into Bitcoin? Was there a plan? Was there a hope for you? Are you trying to buy a house for your mom?
I, I think the biggest thing for me is that every day that Bitcoin doesn't go to zero, the probability of it increases, right? A lot of people thought that Bitcoin would go to zero once it was correcting from that 20K price, right? And I feel like that 20K run up was a parabolic move. But I feel like after that, it was correcting to find its true value. And I think that its true value was lying around, I don't know, at that time, $3,000 to $10,000. So it was kind of hovering there. I feel like now there's a lot less volatility. You don't have as many crazy 30, 50%, 70% corrections. So I feel like every day that Bitcoin lives, the chances of it being around increases, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And for anyone who doesn't know anything about Bitcoin or how it works, how do you buy Bitcoin?
Quick commercial break. Want to manage your money better? Check out my beginner's budget dashboard. It's an easy to use digital tool that helped me economize my lifestyle easily so I could invest over $20,000 in 2020 alone. Check out the link in the description.
So I use Coinbase. What I do is that I dollar cost average. So every month I allocate a specific chunk of money into buying Bitcoins. I feel like that's the best way to generate a significant number of Bitcoins. And that's my strategy, which works for me. I don't try and kind of time the market or trade Bitcoin. I just simply put money in. I do set aside money for when there are dips. I mean, in every market you are going to get dips, so I have money aside for dips, but generally I transfer money from my Revolut to Coinbase, and then from Coinbase I then buy my Bitcoins of Coinbase Pro.
Yeah. So for anyone listening that doesn't have any background in Bitcoin or just wants to know a little bit more about it, it is traded almost like how your ETFs and index funds are traded on Coinbase. So it's roughly the same process. Would you agree, Zahir?
I think with ETFs are kind of funds, right? Electronic funds. With Bitcoin, you can actually buy Bitcoins directly, right? And you can choose to hold them within your Coinbase or hold them off, like in a hardware ledger. So basically, you can store your Bitcoins with like a USB or something. I'm not going to mention how I store my Bitcoins, but I think that it's super important for someone who is looking into, buying Bitcoin to think about security as well, since that's a very important thing, right? So make sure that you read up about ledgers, and how you can safely secure Bitcoin. So look into things like two-factor authentication, just to have that security and assurance.
Yeah, aren't there like physical keychains now that you can keep your Bitcoins on?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So you can choose to store them, but then again, there's always the risk of losing that, right? So you need to make sure that you do your research and find what works for you.
Yeah. Well, now that PayPal has announced that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin as a payment, we saw a huge rally in Bitcoin last week, and it's continuing on in this week. What do you think Bitcoin's like market cap is going to be? And as a reminder, this is not financial advice. We are not certified financial advisors. We are speculative, crazy people.
So I think that you're like, again, if you look at the market cap in gold, it's trillions and trillions, and even in like bonds, real estates, like compare that to the Bitcoin market cap, which I think around now is around, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 280 billion. So if you look at the like gold, which is in like multi-trillions, I think that there is so much room. I believe that you're going to see a flipping happening, which is basically like gold, like investors that are investing in gold, seeing the potential of Bitcoin and seeing that money moving from gold into Bitcoin, right? With gold, you don't have that finite supply, right? Because you could go and mine gold or find gold in space. I'm hearing discussions around, mining gold in space and all sorts of, you don't know how much gold there is in the world at the moment, right? But with Bitcoin, you could only have 21 million Bitcoins, right? So if you think of populations, right, it's crazy. Like London's population is 11 million, right? So I believe if you own one Bitcoin, within the next 5-10 years, you're going to be sorted for life. And I think in terms of like where I see it going in the future, I strongly believe within the next kind of 2 years, I see Bitcoin hitting 100K.
Well, we're gonna follow up with you, mostly because you're taking me to dinner if it does. I can't wait to go to that Michelin star restaurant. It's gonna be the most expensive date you've ever had. But knowing that we're working in like this financial space, and to be honest, you're the only other person at Expedia, other than my former boss, that I really have the pleasure of discussing financial ideas, market trends, stuff like that. How is it being a Black male in this finance space? Do you feel lonely? Do you feel like you have a lot of people that you can communicate about these subjects with?
Good question. When I got into finance, so just to give a bit of background context, I got into finance and investing back in, I would say, early 2015, and it really came about, just having that tough day at work and realizing I do not want to be working 9 to 5 every day for the rest of my life, right? For a in the corporate world, right? I don't mind working 9 to 5, but I would rather be using that 9 to 5 to working on my own business, or or doing, I don't know, working for a non-profit organization, or just having that financial freedom, right? And I found it, I found it quite difficult because I had to learn everything myself. Like I didn't have any family members who knew anything about this, and especially the Black community as well. It was very difficult trying to find someone to kind of like a mentor, or someone to help or guide me in in making these investment decisions and find out more about it. So it was essentially, I spent the last kind of, like, I would say, 4 to 5 years, like, studying this inside out, like from all areas, right? From funds, from like day trading, from like reading charts. It kind of feels like it kind of feels like what I've been studying for is some sort of degree to an
Yeah.
extent. Yeah, it's just, there's so much out there to learn, and now I'm like fortunate to be helping some of my friends and family members as well, and they're like super curious to find out about, how can I make my money grow in a safe, um and there's always that risk, obviously, in investing, but I feel like I'm in a position to not provide financial advice, but at least share my experiences in investing, and how it's made me grow as a person.
Absolutely. Because nobody will care about your money more than you. So when it comes to doing your research, keeping on top of the news, it's so important when you're starting out on your financial journey. What does your family think about this? Do they think you're crazy?
Oh, oh, they thought I was absolutely crazy. They thought that I should save my money in the just in cash, just save my money, just don't invest it. And yeah, they think that I'm absolutely crazy to be having like such a high allocation into cryptocurrencies, but not even just that, to be having like so much like money that I like my net worth into investments, right? But apart from like I have a 6 months emergency fund,
Mm,
and apart from that, like the rest of my money are in investments, because what else am I going to do with it? I need my money to work for me, right? I don't want to be sitting on cash that I don't need, when there is like money being printed over the world. You have you have governments printing money. You have that risk of inflation, just the negative rates, interest rates, stimuluses, COVID, debts, you name it. I want to be able to just have my money just to grow and just sit there and relax. So then in the next, I don't know, 5 years or so, I can work on the things that I've always wanted to work on, right?
mhm.
And that is like to be able to use my time to teach in third world countries, or you know work with non-profit organizations, like have a real impact in the world, and do things for myself, right? And have that time, because at the end of the day, we are not after wealth, we are after time.
Yes. You can get back money. You cannot get back time. And I hope that this message continues to resonate with my followers and anyone who subscribes to my channels, because I started professional life late. Like, I didn't get a real job until I was 26. I didn't start investing until last year. And I now make just as much money as my peers that I was convinced was doing better than me. I now have a net worth of almost 50K. Like, this was something that I really focused on. I hammered away. I ignored all the cool things that everybody else was doing, like going out, going to clubs, drinking, and I focused on how do I get myself more time? And I think that's what you're doing as well, right?
Yeah, I don't go clubbing. I meet up with friends and stuff, but I mean, like, I try and live like a balanced life. I think it's always important to get that balance right. Um, Although lately I've been like investing, saving a lot, I always try and allocate a decent amount for like, socializing with friends and stuff, because I think that there's always value in trying to, maintain relationships, friendships and stuff. Um, but I think it's super important for everyone to realize, like, to have that goal, right? And to have them short-term goals. What do I want to achieve by the end of the year? But then also, what do I want to achieve within the next 5 years, 10 years, right?
Absolutely. And for anyone watching the video version of this podcast episode, you can see Zahir, and you wouldn't necessarily consider someone with a like baseball cap in like very casual London wear to be a six-figure investor. So what is your experience as a Black male in the tech industry, in the finance industry? Have they been like particularly welcoming? The answer is no. But what are your experiences?
Okay, so the first thing I realized is that I badly needed a haircut, and I didn't realize until like the day after COVID, the lockdown here. So yeah, unfortunately, you ain't gonna see my amazing hair. But um, I would say that um, there's been these challenges. Like I've always kind of dealt with imposter syndrome at the beginning of my career. I remember a time that I went to a conference, and they thought that I was a security guard there, which like was I wasn't happy about that. But I also believe that um, it's crazy to think that like every organization that I've worked for, I've always been just the only Black engineer there within London, right? And if you look at the demographics within London, it's a very multicultural city, right? So there's been challenges around that, but I also think that I've worked so hard to get to where I have now, and I'm motivated to kind of be that role model for the role model that I didn't have, because I never really had anyone to look up to, because I was the only kind of Black engineer. um, so I hope to inspire other young Black talent, and let them see that if I've made it here, why can't you, right? Especially like graduates, interns. I think there's a lot of value in seeing someone who is experienced, been in the industry for a while. So I think there's a lot more that I can do in that area.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also easy to see someone like you, Zahir, who's so established, who has found a lot of success, well deserved as well. But we always forget that we did not climb to the tops of these mountains without some serious mistakes and fumbles. Can you give us a financial fumble that you've made, whether that's a stock going to zero or something you shouldn't have bought? Can you give us an example of this?
Okay, yeah. So I invested in a company called NMC Health. They're a pharmaceutical company they were on the FTSE 100. So you'd think, okay, they're in the top 100 companies within the UK, right? There was a big fraud scandal. I think the chairman, called Betty, was there was investigations around him and fraud. So just to give you a heads up, like I invested around, I don't know, like 7,000-8,000 pounds in this company, and I got liquidated. I lost it. I lost all of it.
Oh, that hurts me in my heart.
Yeah,
But it's part of the process.
exactly. And without no risk, there's no reward, right? People expect to get these rewards and put in zero risk, but in fact,
Mm.
you need to put in some risk, and I was willing to to put in that money, and I knew that I was investing it in an investment where the chance of it going down to zero, it can happen, right? I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right, when you're investing, but it's all based on probabilities, right? Um, so yeah, I think that was a big lesson. Another big lesson was when I got into Bitcoin back in 2017. I um I invested a lot of money back in 2017, especially like almost at the top of the cycle where Bitcoin hit 20K. And I still hold some of it right now, but I realized like how important it is to get your average down, right? And I managed to get my average down so much because my portfolio was down by like 70% at one point, right? And it's very easy to be like, oh my, this is it. Like everything's done. Like I've lost it all. Like and be emotionally like drained. But I think what helped me out was the fact that I realized that this is the future and I shouldn't worry too much about what's happening right now, as long as I have that long-term view. And I kept on buying when it hit 3K. I kept on buying a lot. When it hit 4K, I just kept on dollar cost averaging, right? And it's so important to dollar cost average in the asset that you believe in, right? Of course, you need to make sure that you are believing in this asset and that it's going to go up, right? But I always knew that if I get my average down, right, I can break even quicker. And that's what happened. And now I'm actually like up 100% plus.
Damn. Bravo. And could you give us a little cheeky insight into your current net worth now that you've told us you've lost all of your money?
Okay, so my net worth is 6 figures. I'm on target to hit 7 figures by the time I'm 35 and I'm 31 at the moment. So within the next kind of 4 years, I should hit 7 figures.
Screw you. I'm just kidding. We all love and appreciate all of the success that you have. When one
Thank
of
you, I
us
appreciate it.
wins, we all
We all
win,
win.
guys.
Exactly,
We all
exactly.
win. And
Exactly. And I'm always nudging you to make sure that you are allocating a bit more risk, take a bit more risk if you're in your 20s, right? Be a little bit more aggressive, right? You have the leverage to do that, right? Even you could probably say in your early 30s, depending on your circumstances. But I would also say that like if you're 18, 19, 20, now is your chance. Use your time wisely. Use your time to be looking into this, right? Make sure that you are hustling, spending some of your weekends planning what you want to get to by a certain time. I think it's very important. And if I look back, um, I'm happy with my journey, but if I was to tell my younger self, I would have started a lot younger. And I think
Preach.
that's a good message to send out to your young audiences.
Absolutely. I'm starting to get more into the Gen Z scene with my TikToks, but
Yeah,
also for like family planning. As if I choose to have children and when I choose to do it, that is going to be my trigger to play a more defensive investing game and to start putting away money for this spawn, because it has time. It has time. I do not have as much time. But now that I know the tricks, I know the lingo, I know what I'm doing, essentially, I can prepare the next generation to have a even better shot at financial independence than I had.
definitely, definitely. And I think that, I mean, one thing that I would like to call out is one tool that I really use to my benefit is risk to return ratio, R&R. And I think that really, really helped me like to take my investment strategies to the next level, right? Where you look into an asset that has gone down and you look and say, okay, what is the risk to reward? Like how much risk am I putting? How much reward am I getting? And I think that it's very good analysis to use when making investments.
Perfect. So we'll leave everybody with that wonderful bit of knowledge. Thank you so much for being on Wealth and Wanderlust. We appreciate it so much. Where can people find you if they want to follow up with you, Zahir?
So I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me Zahir Abdi. Just type in Zahir Expedia and you'll be able to find me on there. I'm on Instagram as well. So Sir Megas, SIRMEGAZ. Yeah, and I'm happy to connect on there if you want to hear more or if there's any way that I can help.
Amazing. Okay. Well, Thank you, everyone, for listening to this week's episode. As always, a subscribe or follow is greatly appreciated. See you later.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate it. See ya. Bye.
Want to win a free finance-related digital product valued anywhere from $15 to $300? Just subscribe and leave a review on iTunes with your name. I'll announce the winner each month on the podcast, and you can DM me on Instagram to claim your prize. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next week.